The road had no name. It stretched across the American plains like a forgotten scar, cutting through dry grass, cracked earth, and silence so deep it rang in Jack Callahan's ears. The late afternoon sun burned low and orange, pulling long shadows behind his horse as they moved at an unhurried pace. Jack wasn't in a rush. Cowboys like him rarely were. Time moved differently out here, slow, heavy, and honest. Jack had been riding alone for years. Not because he preferred it, but because life had shaped him that way. Loss had taught him silence. Work had taught him endurance. And the land, this endless, unforgiving land, had taught him how small a man really was. He adjusted the brim of his worn hat and scanned the horizon, expecting nothing. That was when he saw something that didn't belong. A shape, small, still. At first, he thought it was debris, an old sack, maybe a broken fence post fallen over. But as he drew closer, his hand tightened on the reins. The shape moved, just slightly. Jack pulled his horse to a stop. There, sitting near the edge of the road, was a little girl. She was curled up against a wooden fence, knees hugged to her chest, head lowered. Her dress was torn and dirty, the pale fabric stained with dust and something darker, maybe dried blood, maybe just grime. Her shoes were mismatched. One sock was missing. Her hair hung in messy strands around her face, catching the light like broken threads. Jack's heart dropped. Children didn't belong out here. Not alone. He swung down from his horse slowly, careful not to startle her. The ground crunched under his boots, and at the sound, the girl flinched. She looked up sharply, fear flashing in her wide eyes. Jack stopped immediately and lowered himself to one knee. "It's all right," he said, his voice rough but gentle. "I ain't gonna hurt you." She didn't respond. She just stared, her lips trembling, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Jack had seen fear before. He'd seen it in men facing death, in animals caught in traps. But fear in a child was different. It cut deeper. "What's your name?" he asked softly. The girl swallowed. Her throat moved like it hurt. "Emily," she whispered. The sound of her voice, small, fragile, made Jack feel something twist inside his chest. "Well, Emily," he said, keeping his tone calm, "my name's Jack. You look like you've been sitting here a long while." She nodded faintly. "How long?" he asked. She shrugged, eyes dropping to the ground. Jack glanced around. No wagon tracks, no footprints besides her own. No signs of nearby homes. Just empty land and sky. His eyes returned to her face, and that's when he heard it. A soft, aching growl. Her stomach. Emily's face flushed with embarrassment, and she wrapped her arms tighter around herself. Jack didn't hesitate. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out what little food he had left. A piece of bread, dry but intact, and a strip of cured beef wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it slowly and held it out to her, palm open. "You hungry?" he asked, though the answer was obvious. Her eyes fixed on the food, wide and unsure. She hesitated, like she was afraid it was a trick. "You can have it," Jack said. "All of it." Slowly, carefully, Emily reached out and took the bread. Her hands were shaking. She broke off a tiny piece and put it in her mouth, chewing like she was afraid it might disappear if she ate too fast. Then something changed. Hunger took over. She ate faster, tears slipping down her cheeks as she chewed. Jack turned his face slightly away, not wanting her to feel watched. He poured water from his canteen into the lid and set it near her. When she finished, she drank deeply, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. "Thank you," she whispered. Jack nodded. "You're welcome, kid." He sat down on the ground a few feet away, keeping his presence steady and calm. "Where's your family, Emily?" She didn't answer right away. Then, very quietly, she said, "They went to get help." Jack waited. "They said they'd come back," she continued. "But it got dark. Then it got light again. And again." Jack closed his eyes for a brief moment. "How many days?" he asked. She held up 3 fingers. 3 days alone. No food, no water, no protection. Jack exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. "That must have been real scary." She nodded, biting her lip. "I tried to be brave," she said. "I know you did," Jack replied. "And you were." The wind shifted, bringing with it the cool promise of evening. Jack looked at the sky. Night would fall soon, and this place would grow cold and dangerous fast. He shrugged off his jacket and gently placed it around Emily's shoulders. It swallowed her whole, the sleeves hanging past her hands. She clutched it like a lifeline. "I'm not leaving you here," Jack said firmly. "You hear me?" Emily looked up at him. "You're not." "No," he said. "Not a chance." He helped her stand, then lifted her carefully onto his horse. She hesitated, gripping the saddle horn with small hands. "I won't fall?" she asked. "I got you," Jack said. "I promise." He walked beside the horse, one hand on the reins, the other ready to catch her if she slipped. As they moved down the road, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire and blood. Emily leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Jack?" she asked. "Yeah, why did you stop?" Jack thought for a moment. "Because," he said, "sometimes the road puts things in front of you for a reason." She seemed to think about that, then nodded. They reached Jack's ranch long after dark. The house was small and weathered, but solid. Warm light spilled from the windows as Jack lit the lantern inside. He helped Emily down and guided her indoors. She looked around in wonder. "It's big," she said. Jack smiled faintly. "It's just right." He made her a warm meal, beans, bread, and milk, and watched as she ate slowly, sleep tugging at her eyes now that her stomach was full. Afterward, he laid a blanket near the fire. Emily curled up instantly, still holding onto his jacket. Jack sat nearby, staring into the flames. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. That night, as the wind whispered against the walls and the fire crackled softly, Jack realized something he hadn't expected. Saving her hadn't just been about rescue. It had been about purpose. And as Emily slept safely under his roof, Jack knew one thing for certain. He would never let her face the road alone again.